Hi guys, welcome to our next episode. As promised, we're on our way up the Bashville track and once again to the Big Red Bash. But this year, unlike last year, it'll be a fair bit different. We have part one, which we're going to call Building of Bashville. Come along and see how this amazing venue is put together, nut by nut, bolt by bolt. It will blow you away, I promise you. Part two will be the concert, but that'll be coming on later. But stay with us and let's get up the Bashville track and get it going. Hi guys, welcome to the Simpson Desert, Big Red Dune. We're standing right on top of Big Red at the moment, and just take one look at behind me and all you'll see is one massive big clay pan. Now take note of that because in a couple of days time this is going to turn into an amazing venue called the Big Red Bash 2023. The transformation will blow your brains. We'll be filming a lot of the transformation over the next couple of days, and then that's in part one, and then in part two we'll show you the concert, of course. But take a look at that, suck it in for a second, and you'll be stunned as to what happens in the next couple of days. But just before we do get into the full setup and construction, let's take a big step backwards and find out how it all happened. Lisa managed to catch up with the founder of this amazing event, Greg Donovan.
I'd like to ask you, Greg, how did it all start 10 years ago? Like, how many people did you start off with at the first bash?
Well, we started back in 2013, and we actually didn't set out to start off a music festival. We were doing a running event out here in the Simpson Desert, and we had runners running around the desert here, 250 kilometres around this area, to raise money for my young son Stephen has. So, but when we set up that run, we also got John Williamson out to entertain the runners and keep them motivated, and our volunteers and that. So it was really just just a sort of a musical thing that we decided to do, and it was up on the Big Red Dune, which you can probably see in the background there.
Oh yeah, it looks amazing.
Amphitheatre on the top of the dune.
Wow.
And so we word got out that John Williamson was going to come and play in the Simpson Desert, and people who were not doing the run and were not volunteers wanted to come and listen and see it. So we decided to sell a few tickets. That's where it went from. So we sold a few tickets to cover some of the costs of doing all of that, and we ended up with between sort of our runners and a few locals and our volunteers and a few people who bought tickets, we ended up with about 500 people up on top of the dune, which was huge. Everyone thought that's massive, 500 people out on the Big Red Dune.
Wow.
That was in 2013. So that then introduced us to the idea, well, everybody loved that music in the desert, and there's nothing really like it, so let's have a look at how we might take that forward. And so we decided in 2014 to actually do a little bit more music, but do it over a couple of days and get a few more performers. We're setting up a big stage up there, so that all costs money, so you may as well get more people in and try and make a little bit of a mini festival out of it and take it from there. So that's sort of how it started, but each year it's grown rapidly. So 2014 we had about 1,200 people. I was made redundant from work, and straight after the 2014 event, got a big payout, and decided to blow that money on Jimmy Barnes and see if we can crank the thing up a bit.
It's a risk, really.
It was a big risk to try and do that. So, that was 2015, and we ended up getting a bit over 3,000 people. It's just grown from there. Then 2016, the next year after that, we sold out. That was a big year, but we had a lot of problems in 2016. We had massive rain all out here. The whole site was a quagmire. You couldn't drive out here. It was we just about had to cancel. We were going to lose a lot of money because at that stage we weren't insured against weather. Yeah. But we ended up working with the council, and we moved the event into Bashville, and we put the concert on the Oval for 3 days, and people camped all around on the common and all that sort of stuff. So
wow.
So then it's just grown from there. Yeah.
So you've overcome a lot of obstacles.
Oh, lots of obstacles.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, not to speak of in more recent times, COVID. You know, we had 2020 event all sold out, put all the money into investing in it, making that happen, and you know, and then a couple of months before the event, or say 3 or 4 months before the event, we had to cancel because of COVID, because basically the whole country shut down.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's really admirable that you use those stumbling blocks as stepping stones.
Yeah.
And that's what really impresses me.
Yeah.
And you've come to the point where today now you're expecting, I believe, around about 10,000 people.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And how does that make you feel when you come here and you're present and you see all these people enjoying, you know, these proceedings or this festival? How does that make you feel?
Well, it's just an amazing feeling, because just, you know that you've been sort of responsible for, you know, sticking at it and overcoming obstacles, as just talked about, but, you know, also see all the smiling faces. You know, when the first band comes on stage and you see the crowd out there and they're all having a great time, it's a special feeling to know that you've been responsible for making that happen.
Well, thank you very much for making it happen, because without you and the great team behind you, we wouldn't have been able to come here and enjoy this fantastic phenomenon, which it is. It absolutely is. It's just so different to anything in the world.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to tell you about it all.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Well, here we are down on ground level. And at the moment, it doesn't look like much has happened, but let me tell you, behind the scenes, there's people working flat strap everywhere. Over the next few days, all the campsites will be laid out. And speaking of the campsites, you might have noticed, if you've seen pictures of the Bash before, how incredibly neatly the camp and caravan sites are laid out. Now, let me tell you, that just doesn't happen by chance. In fact, they're professionally surveyed out using GPS technology, hence why it looks like it looks. At the moment, we laid out some of the toilet sites where the buildings will go in the next couple of days, and we'll show you that step by step soon. Once all the underground plumbing and piping is completed, the arena fencing can be set up, and it now starts to look like something's really happening. That's the last one in. As the semis arrive with all the plant and equipment on board, I've got to say the amount of firewood blew me away. Thousands of tons, and believe it or not, it all gets burnt, so I'm told. Unloading the semi-trailers and carefully sorting and storing the equipment is yet again another important task, making sure it's placed in specific sections, ready for distribution to the relevant site locations when it's required. Everywhere you look, there's marquees being set up, merchandise, bash control and headquarters, first aid, sponsors and artist rooms, just to name a few. It's all happening. Alrighty, here we are at Dunny Central, or what we've called Dunny Central anyway, and it's a hive of activity. This is where all the toilet blocks are built into their individual sections. Some are 3 wide, some are 10 wide, some are 40 wide, just depending on where they're going to be located throughout the camping area. And this is where it all happens. Let's check it out.
In the individual stillage, we'd put it down, we'd unpack it, build it into its block of 7. But now we've made it this semi-permanent setup, so it's got the C channel on the back, 2 runs underneath, so we can build it all here. This will be the last time we build these. Everything's 50 mil, so put a whole pocket full of 50s in one pocket, a whole pocket full of nuts in the other pocket. About 260 toilets that go up, and each day we try to construct about 5 blocks of 7. Everyone's a unit of 7 and they all go out to each individual campsite. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do.
There we go. Dunnyologist. Hey!
Finally, all the toilet block sections are forklifted to their exact location and position, which once again are all accurately surveyed to within a few centimetres. This is quite important so all the underground plumbing will seamlessly interconnect. They are then secured to the ground, the steps are installed and wheelie bins are set up, which are the holding tanks for the solids. All wheelie bins are then connected at the bottom where the fluids drain to and plumbed into a site holding tank, which is then pumped into the underground system on a daily basis and finally makes its way to the absorption pit some 3 kilometres away from the Bash site.
Let's get you, Kerry, to explain to everybody what you're doing today.
Yep. This is one of the small site toilets. So for each of these toilets, we put 2 of these containers in the ground and link a manifold from all the toilets to these. So they collect all the water. The grey water tank above ground is also connected to these. And then we have a pump in one of these tanks, which pumps to the riser just there, which is connected into the new pipe system we've put in. It all interconnects into one main line and goes to the absorption pit, which is about 3.5 kilometres from this point in the site.
Excellent. And Kerry, can you tell me how this is different to previous years?
The collection system itself is much the same, but in previous years we had a full-size semi-trailer with 2 big tanks on it, and each morning they would drive around to each of the blocks, drop a big pump in it, suck it out, take it to the distribution pit and dump it in there. So it was a lot of trucks moving through the whole camping site. So this is a much safer and a much more efficient system of doing it.
Oh, that's great. Every year they're actually improving on things to save labour and to save cost, of course.
Oh, absolutely. And it works both ways. It makes it quicker and easier to set up. And if the owners, organisers, can make it more efficient for their costing, it just helps in all directions.
Oh, that's great. Okay, well, thanks for your time.
No trouble, thank you.
Well guys, let's just fast forward 12 months from last year's event in 2022. Behind me here we have the Otto bins, which store all the poopers from last year's event and the toilet paper, etc. What happens over that 12-month period is the toilet paper rises to the top, it's easily removed, just leaving pure compost. And that compost then is taken over to this storage pile where it's stored and cleaned and checked for any miscellaneous objects such as mobile phones and wedding rings and underpants that I've heard they find from time to time. That's removed and we have pure compost. These unbelievable volunteers we're seeing here have got probably the worst job on the whole event, but anyway, thank God we've got these guys.
Oh, look, another pair of undies.
Beautiful. Hi guys, here we are on Tuesday, exactly 1 week before the bash commences. And to say there's a little bit of tension around the camp is an understatement, because tomorrow it's predicted to rain, and also Saturday it's predicted to rain, which is the day before entry. And it doesn't take much to turn this clay pan into a total slush pit. But the production crew have just arrived. They're starting to set up the stage tomorrow. Most of the other facilities are all set up, just little final titbits, a little bit of final marking out of campsites, and everything's ready to go. So let's all hope and pray that everything is right for next Tuesday. Yes, believe it or not, the Weather Bureau actually got it right, just when we hoped they'd get it wrong. Only 2 to 3 mil fell, but just look how quickly it turned to slush.
Because you are the event director of the Big Red Bash this year, I believe.
That's right. Yep.
Excellent. And now we had the weather that was predicted yesterday, had a bit of rain at the site. And how has that impacted on the works progress of the bash?
Well, we knew it was coming. We didn't know quite how much was going to arrive, but we knew it was going to be pretty wet there for a while, and we know what the ground here is like, and it gets very gluggy. We're actually on a lake bed. So when it falls rain here, when you get more than a few mils, it turns to glug. So we planned around that. We accelerated our setup, and we worked longer days and hours to get ready. So really, when it rained a lot, we all just sat inside and had cups of coffee and played board games and took it easy. And we're back on track now. So the rain came in and affected pretty much right off Wednesday. it's Thursday now. We're back on track, getting everything ready. Friday we're going to bring roll-in forward. Roll-in for the 2-day earlies normally starts on the Sunday, so we've brought that forward to get everyone in because there's a bit more rain predicted for Sunday night and into Monday.
So it obviously sounds like the show must go on, irrespective of the weather, which is really comforting for everybody. The tickets.
We're very focused on making it happen, if at all possible, and we've managed it pretty much every year except for one of the COVID years. So, yeah, we're very flexible and sort of agile in the way we approach it. We communicate really well with the patrons coming in so that they know if there's going to be a weather day, they know about it as well in advance, and we plan for it, and that's why we're getting them in 2 days early in this case than normal. So what that meant, that puts a lot of strain on our toilet systems, which weren't quite ready. So we've actually got them ready 2 days ahead, 2 days early. We've got some of the food vendors in so that the patrons who arrive tomorrow at least have a little bit of choice.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So well organised. It's a real credit to you all that, you're getting in.
It's a massive team effort, Once the team knows what's got to be done and what's riding on it, and as you said before, we're really focused on getting ready for that first music day. So the music starts up Monday night, then the main music days are Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, and the weather's really good for them. So if we can just get everyone on site and battle with the weather and get a bit of understanding from patrons who've got to change their plans, and that's what we've done. We've communicated really clearly with them, so they'll all be here, and when we kick off for the music, everyone will sort of put the trials of having to change their schedule behind them, and they'll all enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Surveying is a big part of the bash. It's the reason why all the campsites and arena seating is so meticulously laid out. I asked Paul to give us a quick rundown on how it's all done.
So we're putting this start picketings on our walkway, and it's also the start of the road curve. So these walkways I've set up earlier, and we're just putting this online. Then I'll start from here. I'll be walking around that way, following the curve on our map, dropping these caps, and then the guys come along behind me measuring. Try and keep the job here simple, so we're just using some Telstra rope with the marks on the top rope where the people have to put the flags in. So once Ryan gets down the other end, we'll set it all up.
It takes many days for Paul and his crew to complete this process, but it's definitely worth it. Let the big rigs roll in. Stage and audio production is all about to commence, and it's sure one of the key elements of the whole event. Power Productions have travelled all the way from Melbourne, Victoria to Birdsville, a feat in itself. They no sooner arrived and it's all systems go. All hands on deck, unloading all the equipment and laying out in strict order, ready to commence erection. Now, without a doubt, Power Productions is a world-class standard operation and second to none. Owned and operated by Jeff Knight, just watching he and his crew work is nothing short of amazing. It's time for me to let the video tell the story. Here we go. Let's build the stage. As the stage continues, also being constructed in the background is the audio control room, being built from the ground up. Note the unique construction. Great use of old pallets, eh?
All right, so welcome to the Big Red Bash volunteer training. The bash has been going, for those that don't know, since...
As all the final touches are being taken care of, no stone is left unturned. The amazing band of volunteers are being trained and inducted to ensure every single aspect of this event runs seamlessly. And I can assure you, it does.
Everywhere you go, in the campsite, everywhere, everyone's got a smile on their face. It's got to be the happiest place in Australia, I reckon.
We've been on site now for just on 2 weeks, filming most aspects of the setup of the bash. And there is no real footage that we can film that will really show you how great this phenomenon is. We really hope you've enjoyed this special edition of the Bash 2023, Building Bashville. And don't forget, if you like what you see, to hit on the like, subscribe and notification button, and that way you'll be in tune with everything that happens and when it happens. Stay tuned for the concert. That's coming up soon, part 2. Let's rock!